everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cubica AMF Tech Tip Podcast. This is the weekly podcast where we take you on a journey through the fascinating world of bowling technology and beyond. As always, I'm your host, Orly, and we have a very special guest today. A first time, a new timer, I guess I would say. We have Kerry McCollough. Kerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Kerry. And, first off, what I always like to do is just kind of ask, whoever's on the show what their title is within Cubica AMF and what they do within that title. So if you could go ahead and let us know, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a junior technical support representative, just tech support rep in general.
Well, we appreciate you being here today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and today, Kerry, I know you wanted to kind of cover a little bit about some things people should be backing up, so if you could kind of just let people know what some of those things they should be backing up, where they can go to do that and how, just how they can do that.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with a little bit of a weird factoid. I worked at Geek Squad for about 2 years before this job, and one of the main things I saw at that job that caused people the most stress, that were the most issues, were people not backing their stuff up, and then their computer had a problem, whether it was hardware or it was hacked or they threw it off a bridge. Well, I've seen it happen. And their stuff is just gone. And Sometimes it's very important stuff. Sometimes it's stuff they need for their business. Sometimes it's family photos. Sometimes it's work-related. It can be pretty devastating when people lose that stuff. And I really hate telling these people, yeah, I'm sorry, but you should have backed your data up. And I think that's just not common knowledge among people. Now, I think in a bowling context with Conquer, and I guess the ecosystem with Conquer, I think that issue still translates over, and I think a lot of people who either run bowling centers or work at bowling centers don't know to back their stuff up. Big thing that I see with this is even not necessarily Conquer, maybe other software like BLS, people don't know how to back it up, and people don't know how often to back it up, and people just don't know where to start with that. Do I back it up every day? Do I back it up every week? Do I back it up every month? And I see that a lot where people are like, hey, my computer crapped out and I can't use it, but my leagues were on there. I'm like, I have very bad news for you. So as far as there's some things that you don't need to back up. So for example, Conquer data, that's something that usually we handle. So that's something I wouldn't worry too much about. Usually that's something that is sent to the cloud in most cases. So that's something that if, say, we're doing an installation of a new server or something like that, or a new terminal, that's something that we tend to take care of. It's more so BLS is a big one, Bowling League Secretary. So anything that software you use to manage your leagues, let me pull up the file path for that. If it's 2025, so if it's BLS 2025 or older, it's going to be in the C drive, and all of this is accessible by going to your File Explorer, which is a little yellow file in your taskbar on the bottom. But the path for that is going to be C, then users, public, and then documents. It might also be called public documents. And in there, you're going to see a folder that says something adjacent to your BLS version. So I'm going to use BLS 2025 as an example, just because that's the one I tend to see the most. In there is going to be all of your league data. So what I would recommend, get a thumb drive, or even better, an external solid state drive. That's something you can pick up at Best Buy, Target, Walmart for less than $100. And then the thumb drives are really cheap. They're probably like $30 or less. Get one that I'd say it depends on how much data you have, but I'd say 64 gigabytes is probably plenty. I don't think you need anything too much more than that unless you're backing up more than BLS. You can plug that into your computer and then just drag it over. It really is that easy. Just let it load through, and that's it. And I would say do that maybe once a week. I'd say do that. And you could even do it in conjunction with restarting your server, which is something we also say to do every week, just because a lot of the calls we get are from people who haven't restarted their server in a long time and are saying, well, this part of my ecosystem is acting really weird. I'm getting this error. I'm having this problem. And then I go and see their server and it's been up for 3 months. And I'm like, I think I found your issue. So you could even do it in at the same time, just so you knock out two birds with one stone. You've restarted your server, so you got that off your plate, and you could back up BLS, and you have that off your plate.
Okay.
Yeah, and then another thing you could back up is any other work-related files. You could back up third-party applications. That's something we tend not to touch. So, like, let's say you have QuickBooks or something like that, Google Chrome. If you have bookmarks in there. That's something that I would recommend backing up with VLS or any other important data as well.
All right, Kerry, we appreciate you coming on the show to share that with us. If someone, like I said, if someone's new to a center, or maybe someone that's been around a center, they maybe haven't been backing up. That's something important, because you never know, you never know what's going to happen to your computer. And if you don't have that backed up, like you said, that could be a bad thing. You don't want to lose all your league information or any of that. So yeah, we appreciate you coming on to share that. And hopefully this was your first time. Hopefully you want to come back and help us again one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone, thanks for listening to the Cubica AMF Tech Tip Podcast. We're here each week to support centers like yours with expert advice and the latest in bowling innovation. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and be sure to share this podcast with your team, coworkers, or anyone who could benefit. Until next time, we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.